Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle video tutorial on Affinity Photo and using pattern designs to create image brushes, which you can use to create all kinds of amazing designs. So first thing to do, go to a complete fresh document. I can find a complete fresh document. There's a fresh document. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a shape, a very basic shape I'm going to use for a star. Now you can use anything. You don't have to use a shape. You could of course use an image. You could use a brushstroke itself if you want to use that to create the initial design, but it needs a layer. I'm going to go with, I say a star, but I could go with donuts, whatever, and just create that very basic star. Now I'm going to set it something, and I'm going to go with, say, red. So I've got that design there. What I can now do, I can turn that into a pattern. To do that, here's layers, and the key thing here is view and studio, and all the various panels are here, brushes, layers, etc. So they're very useful, layers and brushes. So layer, and then go down to a rasterize. I want to rasterize it, so you've got rasterize layer. Now I can go over here and I can say layer and new pattern layer from selection. Now you could create a selection, you could select it, you could go here, select, and selection from layer, perfectly reasonable as well. But I'm just going to go for layer and new pattern from selection. Straight away you can see your design now. I'm just going to remove the original. So that's the original star. And what you can do then is you can resize it, just a standard pattern. And you can really shrink it down. So I'm going to go with something like that. Now you could try and be fairly careful and avoid the edges, but it doesn't particularly matter when you've got something this small, and when you're going to apply it numerous times, I think it's very hard to actually see that you've actually got the star slightly cut off. Now, once you've done that, what you can do, you can define that as a brush, an image brush. So you've got here, got brushes, you can go over here, new brush from selection. Well, at the moment, if I do that, so I'm just going to say new brush from selection, and you'll see it's just a very small star design. In fact, you can't even see it. I don't want that. What I want to do is I want to rasterize the whole lot. So layer menu and a rasterize. Make certain you've got the right layer. So yeah, there it is. Make certain you've selected that pattern layer. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So layer and a rasterize. So it's all now rasterized. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the brushes, and I can go over this right side menu, this menu over here, click there, and now new brush from selection. And what happens, it generates a selection based on this. So you can see it's 800, and you can see obviously it's fairly, so you can't see much. However, of course, you can see an example up here, what I'm looking for. So double click, and it brings this up, the editor for the brushes. And you can modify it, you can change the size, change the spacing, and there's the spacing there. You can make it further apart if you want to do that. Doesn't particularly matter for this because I'm just going to apply it as dabs, but just change it like that, perfectly reasonable. Then what you can do, go to dynamics. You can also vary the size if you want to use it like this, but you can also do rotation jitter, so you can actually have it sort of turning around, perfectly reasonable as well. Also, you can go down to Hue Jitter, and as soon as you do that, you can see a little bit of saturation jitter as well, if you want to do that. You can see it varies in colour now. So that's what I'm going to go with. That's going to be my brush stroke. Now I'm just going to remove this. I don't want that layer anymore. Don't want that either. And now I've got my brush. What I can do, I can just go over here and I can apply my brush stroke. You can see straight away, and it's layers over here. It's been added to a pixel layer. So you can fill the entire design like that. So that's a brilliant brush stroke, very quick and easy, just to create very unusual stars. And of course, you don't have to apply it. Obviously, as a flowing brush, you can add it. And also, of course, what you can do, you can always vary the size. If you don't want it to be 800, you can always make small ones there. And you've got that design. So what you can then do, of course, you can apply lots of effects if you want to. You can go to filters, maybe apply blurs, and then apply it again, maybe create a new layer. So layer and new layer, add it onto a layer. Also, another thing which I always love doing is a layer and a live projection. So that's the layer menu, live projection, and then go for, and I can never say it, equirectangular, something like that anyway. And you can see straight away you've got this lovely design, which you can, if you want to, you can manipulate. So live projection, you can remove it, you can edit it, you can just rotate it around. But you have to edit it. So it's always via layer and live projection and edit live projection. And you can, of course, position. You might not want to position it there because you get that sort of intense scent. Up to you, of course. You might want to just move it around like that. Now, unfortunately, you can obviously add some brush strokes, but of course the brush strokes are just added on, not fortunately using that projection. It'd be really nice if it did, but it's just, but what you can do, you can still, of course, go up to layer, live projection, and edit that, and you can still continue to move it around. So you can see you can create some very unusual designs. And what you can also do, of course, is if you want to, and weirdly, I don't know why they've never done it, but layer menu, live projection, there's no rasterize feature here. You'd think there would be sort of like, however, obviously simply just go down to rasterize if you want to convert it into a proper layer. Now it's just a standard layer again. You can see pixels up here. And what you can do, of course, you can always go to add some more brush strokes if you want. You can also just go back and just do it again. Perfectly reasonable. So there is very simple brush stroke, which you can modify in numerous ways, change opacity, change the blending modes. Of course, I haven't done that, but you can see design there. And you can just change blending mode, maybe go for difference. You can see, create a pretty messy design if you go for difference. It's a simple way, just using basic shape or any kind of image. And of course, what you can do is you can always, of course, just go over here. It's a selection. So I'm just going to go back so it looks something at least respectable. Yeah, something like that. What you can do, of course, you've got freehand selection tool. You can select that, and I'm just going to select very roughly. You've got all those stars in your brushstroke. So that there. And then you go to layer, a new pattern layer from selection, and you've got that design. And now you can hardly see it, but there's the selection there, and you can rotate it, shear it, to create all kinds of designs, as well as duplicate it as well. So layer and duplicate. So you can create all kinds of that. You can see them over there. Once you've done that, of course, what you can do, you can always go and define that as a brush stroke as well. So if you want to, simply rasterize that, the whole thing, and I'm just going to go for layer, and I'm going to merge visible. So everything's merged down. So I've got one entire pixel layer there. Now what I can do, I can go over here and into brushes, go to there, and new brush from selection. Obviously the whole layer there, and there you've got that design there. And of course you can then use that if you want to use that as your brush. So then go over the brush tool again, and you can see your design there. So you can really create all kinds of unique designs very quickly using this feature just to fill you. But of course what you can also do, you can double click on there and you can see the design there. Again, you can do exactly the same before. You can change the spacing if you want. Dynamics, you can go for hue and jitter. Again, go for maybe size jitter, so you can vary that. And rotation. So you can create some very unique designs. Reduce the size down a bit. And of course, what you can do if you want, you could use that maybe as a background texture and many, many more. So from patterns, great, brilliant image brushes that can be used in countless ways. Obviously, it doesn't have to be stars. It could be circles. It could be any kind of design. It could be letters, much, much more. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Always adding new tutorials about Photoshop, Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher, Illustrator, Critter, Painter, and many, many others. Also, please add some comments. If there's something I've done wrong, please point it out. It's always nice to someone comment, or maybe you've got some other idea that, maybe make even better use of this brush effect. Always great to hear. Also, a dislike or like. Thank you much.